Are you a professional woman in Central New York looking to connect with a community that values local talent? Unlock your career's potential with the CNY Women's Network online business directory. For just $9 a month, you can enjoy a premier listing that connects you with a community of engaged customers, recruiters, and executives eager to discover you. Getting started is easy. Simply click the link in the show notes to purchase your listing, and your profile will be live within 72 hours. And one more thing, as a valued listener of the Cultivate CNY podcast, you get 20% off your first month with us. Just use the code Cultivate20 at checkout. That's 20% off your first month with the CNY Women's Network online business directory when you use the code Cultivate20 at checkout. Don't miss out on the opportunity to grow your career and attract new opportunities. Join the CNY Women's Network directory today to be seen, connected, and hired. Hello, and welcome back to the Cultivate podcast. I am your host, Alex Canavan, founder of the CNY Women's Network, and today's guest is an event planner turned rental specialist. She's a leader in the Central New York wedding industry and a mastermind in all things events. In this episode, we dive deep into starting a business from scratch, event planning, styled shoots, and so much more. She's the founder of RD Events and Refined Rentals. I hope you guys enjoy this episode of the Cultivate podcast. Let's welcome Rachael Dunsmoor. So it's about time.
Okay.
It's about time we got you here.
Yeah.
She's booked and busy, guys. Okay, this is an absolute pleasure to have Rachael Dunsmoor on the podcast, otherwise known as RD Events NY, and now Refined Rentals by RD. So Rachael is an event planner and event coordinator and event designer, and she helped us out with the gorgeous stage design at this year's summit. We had a beautiful lounge on stage for all the speakers, and then we also had a cute little networking lounge living room sort of situation outside in the atrium for people to just like socialize and network at. And those are still like my favorite photos from the summit. Is the photos of it looks like an ad. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was so cute. That being said, I do want to talk about Refined Rentals. I think we should really get into that because I think what you're doing is so needed, especially in the events space and just like in the B2B kind of market here. There's so many small businesses that are hosting their own events now, and I've personally had quite a few messages come through like, hey, who was it that did the stage design for the summit? Can you send me their info? So yeah, but before we get into all that, I do want to talk about, you are a self-employed, self-made woman, and that's something to be proud of just in and of itself. So how did you start your business as an event planner?
Thank you for having me, first of all, in that lovely intro. So I guess I'll take you back to the beginning and not give you the full story, but how it all kind of happened. But when I was younger, I really would see event planners and wedding planners in the movies and everything, and always was like, how do I do that? Like, how do I get into that role? But when I was in high school, I went to my guidance counselor, during the senior year times where they're like, okay, what do you want to do? And I had gone to her, sat down. She was like, what do you want to do when you grow up? Like, where do you want to take the next step? Because they guide you to your next step. And I told her, I was like, I don't know what to call that type of person, but how do I get into the event industry, essentially? And she was like, well, are you sure you want to do that? Like, what else do you like? And I was like, well, I like health. So she was like, go that route. Went to college for that, everything, just kind of went to school. Wasn't the best student.
You went to school for biology?
No, I went to school for athletic training and health education. So
Okay.
totally different realm. I mean, I wasn't even told that, I know this sounds really naive, but hospitality was a thing. I knew it was, but when you're young, you just don't know that word almost. You're like, what is the major I have to go to get there? So went through college, skipped all of that, but I just wasn't fulfilled. I just didn't want to, nothing was drawing me in. I would go to health class, anatomy, all of that. Nothing was drawing me in. So years went by, didn't finish college, went into being a server and a bartender, which I loved doing because I love people, love connecting with people and everything. So I went back to the original dream of how do I become an event planner. So I wrote this glorious letter to a local venue right here in downtown Syracuse. Said I'm really passionate about events. How do I get to being an event planner? And didn't hear from her for a couple weeks. Was like, all right, what am I doing? I felt very lost. And then she finally replied to me and she was like, come in and serve weddings. We'll hire you as a server. And I was like, oh, that's not what I want to do, but sure, let's do it. Let's work from the ground up. So technically started from literally the bottom and worked my way up the pole there, the totem pole, as you can say. The ladder is probably the better
Which I
word.
think is one of the best things you can do, especially if you plan on running a business. You want to know exactly what it is like to do every single job.
The ins and outs, like what made the events run. So worked my way up and then I just was like, yep, I'm going to keep going. So I got promoted everything to event planner and then I left during COVID and went to a different venue. COVID really hit, everything kind of shut down and it just wasn't what I wanted. So I listened to through my career, my years of doing that, so many people were like, just do it yourself. Like be your own event planner, start your own brand, start your own business. So I did it, sat down with my husband. At that time, he was my boyfriend. Sat down and was just like, I think I'm going to do it. And now more than ever during COVID, everyone needed a planner. I felt because everything was shut down. There was events had crazy restrictions and guidelines and people needed help. So I kind of just dove in, started RD Events and Design, which I'm very lucky I didn't have to change my name when I just got married.
Yeah. Her name
And
was Demling before, now it's
yes,
Dunsmoor,
yeah,
so
it's
it
done
still
for.
works.
Yeah,
It's
it worked out
perfect.
great. Kept the RD. And that's how a lot of people know me
You
in the
started
event
it knowing you were
industry.
gonna marry the man, though.
Yeah, I did. I
You're like, "Oh,
did.
this won't be an
I was like,
issue."
so you're gonna marry me, but also are you cool if I start my own business? And he was phenomenal, obviously.
He's very
Still is.
supportive, yeah.
Yes. I left this morning and he's actually like upgrading our storage where Refine Rentals is held. He's like, I don't know, doing manly stuff in our storage space. So the support system is great there. But anyways, yeah, that is kind of where we came from.
So you left an events planning role to start your own business, so I'm sure you already had some connections in the industry, but other than your own personal network, how were you able to get the word out about your event planning services? I personally, like, remember you doing a lot of styled shoots right off the bat. One of them, I believe I did makeup
You
for.
did.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. I mean, thank
But
you.
I think that's a great way for people who have a passion for
Mhm.
hosting and might wanna start event planning or even just, like, start event designing. I think there's a
Yes.
lot of people interested in that now. Like, my Instagram page is flooded with, like, the tablescapes and just, like,
Mhm.
people starting their own business doing stuff like that. I think just building your portfolio and being super hungry, willing to work for free for a little bit and,
Mhm.
like, build that portfolio up and do those styled shoots
Right.
is probably huge.
It was huge. And luckily from where I started event planning at the venue in downtown Syracuse, I was so hands-on there, and I was so hungry then to the way that it kinda worked is our sales manager sold the event and then handed the piece of paper to the president of the company, who then sat down with the planners within the company and said, "Okay, who wants the event?" I was always first to raise my hand. I was like, "I don't care if it's a wedding, a baby shower, bridal shower, gala, whatever. Give it to me." So, I worked with a lot of vendors just from that, just from being so it's such a popular downtown Syracuse venue as well. So, when I started, I kind of reached back out to those people, the vendors I have worked with and really enjoyed working with too. And that's I just was like, "Hey, I started my own business. Just put the name out there if you can." Built my own website, made my Instagram, just, like, went crazy while I was sitting at home, just, like, following people and getting my word out that way, but yes, that's when I learned what styled shoots were. At first, I didn't really understand the concept because we never did them. So I actually reached out to another local planner in the area and was like, "Hi, how do I do this? Like, what's your process? Do you mind sharing how you start a styled shoot?" She was phenomenal. She's in Nashville now, but um she gave me a little bit of feedback and was like, "If you want to come shadow one of mine, feel free." I didn't do that. I should have, but I just kind of took a little bit of her information and ran with it. Um and I started one, and yeah, I think you did my second one maybe? I think that was one of them, but yeah, just reached out to those connects and was like, "Hey, you wanna help put together these awesome styled shoots?" And definitely learned a lot from those, but yeah, built my portfolio, had a ton of photographers come to them, and I still, to this day, get great feedback on my styled shoots. I just don't do as many as I would like to, but it was 100% one of the main things that helped me really put myself out there. I still get compliments from the first one I did, and I'm like, looking back, I'm like, "Look at where I came from."
What is the first thing you should do once an event idea has come to mind and you decide you want to do it?
Obviously, location is huge in those. But really just having your concept actually, like, outlined in
Because
every
that's
way.
going to determine like the location,
Everything,
right?
really. Like, if you want it to be, a networking event, who do you want there? It's really like the who, what, where, when, and why. So figuring that out by yourself and then taking an influence too, like, I know a lot of people that do events, I mean, you included, you know what you want to do for the event, for, like, a networking or whatever it is, but try not to take too much outside influence into it. Like, what do you want? It's your event. How do you make it what you want? Do the who, what, where, when, why, how, all of that. And then start bringing in building your team with it, whether you hire a planner, which you should, and then designing and all of that. But from there, location. Location's so key because obviously that's where the event is held and housed. But that is where you should always start.
Hey everyone, I want to take a moment and tell you about an incredible community that's making a real difference for women in Central New York. Are you a growth minded woman looking for a supportive and dynamic community? Look no further. The Collective by CNY Women's Network is built on core values that foster personal and professional growth, ensuring you have the support you need to succeed and live your best life. In the Collective by CNY Women's Network, we celebrate women's successes, collaborate on community initiatives, and create our own opportunities. We're committed to making Central New York a more dynamic and prosperous place to live and build our legacies. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a professional, or someone that's just looking to connect with like-minded women, this community is here for you. It's a platform where women are seen, feel connected, and can make their dreams come true. Join the Collective by CNY Women's Network today and become a part of a community that's all about empowerment, growth, and making a positive impact. To join, you can visit cnywomensnetwork.com/join for more information and use the code Cultivate10 at checkout to get 10% off your first month or year with us. That's Cultivate10 at checkout to get 10% off your first month or year with the Collective. So join the Collective by CNY Women's Network today, and your journey to success will be celebrated and supported every step of the way. So last year, right around this time, I had what is now one of my favorite aesthetic treatments done, and I have to tell you guys all about it. So I remember scrolling Instagram and coming across a post from a local woman-owned business that showed a gnarly-looking device hovering over a patient's face, and the caption read something along the lines of, "Now that boat season is over, get rid of the sun damage with our laser facial." I had heard of laser facials before, but I wasn't totally sure exactly what they were for. Then I saw the after photo of this business's patient, and I was shocked. Of course, I had to try it for myself, so I booked myself an appointment at Medicine-Based Beauty and never looked back. Medicine-Based Beauty is your go-to clinic for medical-grade aesthetic services that blend art and science. They offer Botox, fillers, laser treatments, microneedling, and wellness therapies. And they have highly trained professionals that tailor each treatment to enhance your natural beauty. With locations in Ithaca and Syracuse, Medicine-Based Beauty ensures safety and exceptional results for every client. Are you ready to start your beauty journey? Schedule your appointment today by visiting their website at medicinebasedbeauty.com or calling 315-920-0012. Elevate your beauty routine with Medicine-Based Beauty. You will not regret it. How does someone define a budget for an event?
It all depends on the event. It's a tricky question. Going into weddings, obviously, that is pretty cut and dry. Who's contributing? How much do you want to put towards it? That, again, weddings are in their own category for something like that. But for more of like your networking and your, let's say, galas, fundraisers, and such, budget for those are so different across the board because there's contributing factors that, or if you're doing a fundraiser, obviously you don't want to have a big budget because you want the funds raised to go into the cause. So it really depends. That's not like the best answer, but it
It's
does
kind of a loaded
truly,
question.
yes, it is a loaded question, but it really is. I mean, I could sit here and tell you each category how you should figure out your budget. I don't know if everyone wants to hear that, but, weddings, to go back to the easy one, is who's contributing and how much do you wanna put into it? What's, like, a crazy number? Everyone's in a different phase of their life during that time. Like, they might be buying a house, or they might be getting a new job or something, or their parents are paying for the whole thing. Do they wanna put extra into it? But, like I said, every event is different across the board for every category too.
For sure. Where in weddings, I feel like weddings have become such an ordeal, like
Love it.
like a
Yes.
3-day ordeal at this
Yes.
point, which I think is fabulous
Agreed.
if you come from a privileged place where you can afford a 3-day ordeal, but,
Yeah,
I love to see it on Instagram. I think it's all
me
fabulous,
too.
it's gorgeous. I'm just waiting to get invited to one of those,
Right. I
but
wish I could have done one.
venue and food and beverage, aside from those, what do you think people are willing to invest in the most, like, in their experience?
Photography and videography as well. The it that has grown so much in all events, especially weddings. Like, if you look back even 5 years ago, people cared about the like photo and video, but it has grown so much more and people care so much more about what they're going to look like. Not that they didn't before, but now, I mean, look at some of the people in our area, the photographers and videographers. It's such an art, and clients care about that so much more now. And it's just such like an, I don't know, they're willing to invest more into that. And I always say to invest more. I tell my clients, for weddings particularly, keep your budget pretty high in those areas. If that's like a number one importance to you, you're going to spend more, but it's going to be worth it. And keep that, like I said, keep that a little bit of bigger part of your budget. So I see that a lot, that people are putting more of their budget into and willing to invest more into. And then behind that, decor.
And I think a lot of people just assume that the DIY route is always cheaper, but, I mean, maybe, like, if you do florals, but do you have 5 visually skilled friends that are willing to, like, do the florals while you're getting ready for your, you know what I mean? It's just
Yes.
there's so much that goes into it, and cutting corners and cutting costs for weddings is really, really tough. But what are you seeing right now that brides are doing design-wise that is actually saving them money, but you think, like, looks really good?
Candles. Honestly, more candlelight, which, not to take away from florists, but right now, and I'm sure you see it on the Instagrams, Vogue weddings, and everything is loaded with candles. And I am a candlelight queen. I love candles. I think the ambiance of candles they're timeless, so romantic and so elegant. I'm actually seeing more of that. So I'm seeing more centerpieces be more candlelit driven, maybe simple florals or none at all. And we're just loading the table with candles. I'm obsessed with it. It is such a trend. I hope it never goes away. Candles are always trendy, but this type is so classic. And it just like, me as a planner, obviously seeing this often, one of my favorite parts of a wedding day, especially, is walking into the room when it's all done, it's all lit up, lights are dimmed, kind of, the mood is set. And every single time that's super impactful is when they load it with candles. Candles are everywhere. And it takes my breath away. And I'm sure it does to many. I hear it all the time with guests like, "Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful." Candles.
What's a trend right now in the wedding space that you're not loving? Like, is there anything that you're not loving? I'm seeing lots of, like, bows on the stems, and I'm like, I could only imagine how the event designer feels about that.
I
Like,
love that you said
tying
that
every
because it was
single
kind
bow.
of going through my head, but I love it. I think
I
it's
think it's
so
adorable.
cute,
Yeah.
but it is so tedious. And it's one of those things, this happens every single year. There's a trend that comes out that, I don't know, we'll see, Vogue weddings will get a photo of. And then it blows up and it's all over Pinterest, it's all over Instagram, it's everywhere. And obviously my brain is, "Oh my gosh, that's gonna take so long. Who's going to do that?" I do those things, obviously, like, certain table settings, napkin folds, all of that. That's fine, but that was one that, when you just asked me that, went through my head because I have a couple of clients that want to do that this year. No problem. Their weddings aren't huge. But imagine doing that for like a 250 person wedding, tying those intricate little bows
That
over and over
style is
again.
definitely more like
Hmm.
kind of cute and like small, intimate. Like you can see it for an intimate wedding, but it's like so eventually you have to draw the line, I feel like.
There's another one that came in my head that I have to share, and I see it every week. And I'm sorry if people in this room or people listening to this love this or want to do this. Have you seen those seating charts where you ring the bell? And, or it's not even like a seating chart. Some of them are, some aren't. You ring the bell and then the server hands you the drink through.
Yes, I'm seeing that. I've seen it.
It
Like the
is,
espresso martini thing,
yeah.
and they like ring the bell
You
and
don't
someone.
see the bartender's face. It's just a hand hold. I think that is the most unrealistic
I think it's like
thing.
whimsical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a cute idea, but for me, as also being a bartender at one point in my life, it's just like, I don't know, it takes away of like the face-to-face factor also, but also it just some like, I don't know, it's
Are they
just so
getting tipped
strange to
for
me.
that?
Like
Yeah.
you're
Like
ringing a bell, here's my drink through the thing. I haven't done that personally in a wedding. I don't have anyone that wants that, but I see it and I'm just
what are some of the cutest like wedding guest experiences you've come across during your time?
the live painters. I adore those types. And nowadays, like there really are so many different vendors out there. I even met some at the Women's Summit, but just so I just like things I've never even seen before. But the live painters to me are such an adorable little thing. Like, and I'm now seeing that expand more because that was starting to become popular, I'd say about 2 years ago. And then now you see live painters doing guest portraits, super quick little photos, 8x10s that the guests get to take away. I think that is such a cute way to personalize your wedding and give a guest a favor, but also like the big photo that they do. I think that is so cute to be able to hang up in your home for the rest of your life. I think those are super sweet. Obviously, my client is number one, but I want their guests to leave their wedding and be like, wow, I saw something there that I've never seen before. This was really well done. So I always think about my clients' weddings in guest focused ways. And that is one of them. I just think the vendors that create like a better guest experience are so, I wish we had more of them. Can't think of what they would be, but
I think like interactive guest experiences that give them something to take away is really cool. Like I know that the typewriter poets, they were at our Galentine's event, and then after that, like they booked like so many weddings because there was a few brides at that event, and so many brides were like, "I need you at my wedding." I think that's a really great cocktail hour thing, especially if like they popped up and they were just like improvising. They're both like musicians actually, so they write songs and stuff. So they just started this side gig doing this like typewriter poets, and they have like old vintage paper and it's like really authentic, and I feel like it's cool, especially if they lean into like a more vintage vibe too with their outfits. But they basically told our attendees, give me 3 words, and a lot of them were related to love because it was Galentine's Day, or like self-love or something like that.
so like they are a poet doing the typewriting.
Yeah, basically, like, they sit there at a table with their typewriters, there's 2 of them, and they're, like, dressed in, like, I don't know, they look like writers, I don't know what to say, like, white button down, trouser, like, just
Yeah,
something simple, but they look
classy.
cool, they have a cool look, and basically, you just walk up to the table and you give them your 3 words. I will say at Galentine's Day, I did read some raunchy poems. I there's
When you just said that, I was
the
like, were they a
girlies
little
the girlies
raunchy?
were feeling
Yeah.
frisky. I don't know what was going on, but they were really funny.
I
So
love
people
that
had a lot of
though.
fun with that. And you know what? They had a line all night long.
Oh, I'm sure.
The last people at that event were waiting for their poem. They were working up right up until the last minute.
And that's one thing to think about too, to bring that back to events is something of that sort. It's such a cute thing, but think about lines forming or if somebody never gets to do something because there was always a line or it took too long. But still, something like that is so awesome to have like at a more intimate wedding because they have to think on their feet for that. That
It's
is,
a lot of work
yeah,
to be doing all night
but
long. Yeah.
so awesome.
So how did refined rentals happen? Did it kind of like happen naturally? Because I assume you were just like naturally investing in a lot of these design pieces for your clients.
So it's funny. I have obviously through the years accumulated so many things from just like small pieces of decor. And I've always wanted to do more. Like I love seeing like the custom pieces and all of that. But in our area, we do have a lot of rental companies that are more on the vintage side of things. And I love and adore them. Me, I don't see much modern luxury rentals in our area or even, the custom pieces and so on. So I was just one day sitting down and Eric, my husband, was like, let's do this. Like, let's expand. We have the space. You already have so much stuff. Let's bring in some lounge furniture. He's incredibly handy with building things. So he was like, show me photos from your client's inspiration. I'll build it. Like my now father-in-law too, he's a contractor. So he has that kind of in his blood.
Yeah,
So he's
that's great.
handy.
They're
Yeah.
hard to come by
Yeah,
nowadays.
right. So, and he loves doing that. Well, he might listen to this and be like, love is a strong word for loving to do it. But
It's just in his blood.
yeah, he just is so good with it. And he's really good with like the creation. And I could just be like, I think I know how to do this, but you execute it and you do it. So we did it together. Yes, it's by RD, but it should be by Eric as well, my husband. But he just really pushes me throughout all aspects of my business. And that was one that I was like, oh, all right. 2024 for me was more of focusing on like making a better work life balance, but let's do it. I didn't take as many weddings this year to do that, but I have more time this year. So I was like, let's do it. Okay. So, like I said, we didn't have as many modern luxury rental companies in the area. So that is,
That's your niche.
yes.
That's your angle,
And
which I
that's
love
what I
it.
love. Like that, even like my clients for just wedding planning, I like to bring in more of the ones that want that vision, like a modern, luxury, elegant,
That's your
timeless.
taste.
Yeah, I can execute those the best. And I
But I
was like,
also
why
feel
not
like
bring in?
this having a modern elevated niche, like it almost doesn't limit you to weddings. Like I think that there's more room for you to work in other sectors. Whereas like the vintage space is like so weddings, I feel like, and like maybe like one off like sort of cutesy fun events, but like showers and all the things like
Yeah,
that. But
and it is the word vintage alone is very much a theme. Obviously, modern luxury is a theme too, but like you're saying, it is they can fit anywhere. I mean, we're actually doing more non-wedding events already, which is what I wanted because weddings are my bread and butter, but I do love fundraising events, small events, and just being able to like elevate little spaces in any event. So that was kind of our goal. Yes, obviously weddings will be probably our number one, but we are doing more fundraisers. Like in a couple weeks, I'm doing a pretty large one for a community hospital in Hamilton. So I was like, this is awesome. We're getting a reach out there because it's not they can fit anywhere.
it's
Anything that we
like
have
more
really can.
corporate. Like when
Right.
when you have that modern luxury, yeah, it's you can fit into a corporate setting, which
Exactly.
I think is really, really smart
Yeah.
business
Thank you.
wise. But you still, it's nevertheless, it's not like everything you have is like black
Right.
and
We
like,
have some very colorful pieces.
yes, yes,
And
yeah.
I like that too. I'm a very colorful person. Obviously, we'll have our whites and our blacks and our neutrals, but I think too, trending in just the event industry lately is more color. You're seeing more color everywhere. So I did want to be able to kind of have a wide variety, a wide inventory of just different pieces that aren't just your neutrals or, vintage style patterns. I don't really have any of that. So we went a little crazy with the stuff we brought in, but it fits. I mean, we'll find events that it will fit into for sure.
So what kind of packages are you offering? Because you just said you also want to be able to accommodate for like maybe a little networking lounge like you did for the summit, at an event, like kind of more I would say like specialty services, something like that. What are some of the packages that you are going to be offering people?
So we don't for refined rentals, we won't do technically packages just yet. I'm actually working on fine tuning that anyways. But right now it's more of like you just have to hit a minimum, but we will have a minimum tier for small events to like higher ones. But really it's just like tell us what you want. I do offer design and mood boards for this too, because a lot of the times I'll get people come to me and say, I these are my 3 words for my bridal shower, but what do you have to fit that? Rather than just kinda hand them a rental catalog, I'm like, "Well, let me build a mood board for
Yeah,
you."
that's where the design service comes in.
Right, and I love design, it's probably my favorite part of my job, so, of course, I was like, "Yeah, let me just make all these mood boards for these little events," but it helps them envision it, and then the mood board is based on what we have also. So it's easy for them to just envision, then I say, "Okay, here's how much it costs," so on and so forth, and boom, done.
So do you actually have like a team of people that help you the day of to actually get set up and help with the design process or just at least hands on deck?
I will be primarily the one you speak to throughout the whole entire process, whether it's, a lot of planning, designing, or just simple, like, I need this from you. But yes, my actual event planning from RD events and design side helps with this as well. So,
It's kind of seems like a natural progression of already events, but I love how it kind of happened naturally too because you already had the space to put everything and you're already kind of doing it anyway. So how do you plan on like keeping Refined Rentals under the RD Events brand, or do you want the Refined Rentals to kind of stand on its own and be its own brand? And maybe like down the road, could you see yourself just overseeing stuff like this and maybe bringing on more designers?
that's kind of what I'm hoping for. That's the big dream, and I'm sure I can easily make it happen. Look where I am now.
Yeah, right, girl.
But
It's
right
only been
now
4 years.
yeah, right. 4 years, and here I am with 2 businesses. Chaos, but I love the chaos, so it's okay. Right now, though, it definitely is kind of under the umbrella of RD events, because it needs that help to kind of get the following, but I would like it to eventually be its own brand, just so I can have 2 separate brands. They are obviously that modern luxury elegant vibe that I'm going for. They wouldn't be 2 totally different things. That would be total chaos. But yes, I would like it to eventually build a little bit more and then, yeah, just kind of be able to oversee both. And then maybe one day the big dream is to put it all into one big venue and own my own venue and then really oversee everything. That's the real big goal.
That would be awesome. I could only imagine. I actually just I went to a summit in Rochester not too long ago, and it was held at this gorgeous venue that I hadn't heard of, but they do a ton of luxury weddings there. It's Arbor Midtown,
Oh, love it there.
and the owner of it was such like a boss. And I know a few event planners that have a dream of like starting their own venue. I'm like, you need to talk to this woman over here because she's been through it too. Like she's still kind of new to the game, but I think this she has 2 venues
I
now.
think there's 3 even.
3? Okay, yeah. No, but I mean, I couldn't believe the building that she had. Like, it was ginormous, and so, like, that takes a whole other level of, like, you're gonna have to go in and find investors and pitch
Oh,
this
yeah.
thing, and it's, like, crazy, but I think it's definitely a great goal to go after, especially in a region like ours.
Mhm.
There are lots of wedding venues, but they're all so different,
So different.
and there's so many shoes that you can fill.
Yes. So this is just our couple little, stepping stones to get there. Obviously, once I do have my own venue, it'll be nice because I've seen so much already, going into just being in the industry for 9 years now. So I will be incredibly picky. That's why I don't like to say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to own a venue in a year." It's going to take a long time, but I will work my way to that.
Yeah,
And
in the meantime,
right,
it's not
yeah.
gonna be something you're gonna rush and
No,
force.
because I will be so picky on where it is, what it looks like, how it's run.
But it's I think with wedding venues, it's tough because if you wanted to start like a corporate, like, convention venue, you just need, like, a building and, like, maybe accessible parking. But with a wedding venue, you not only need the interior to be beautiful, but you need the exterior to be beautiful because the couple needs to take photos out in front, or you need an immaculate view so the couples can take photos out
Yes,
front.
there's so much too, and it's even, like, beyond the couples and the clients there because being the type of planner I am, like, one of the people. Like, I just look at the vendors and, like, their experience also at these venues, and I try to make it simple for them. Like, when I'm working on weddings, it is not yes, my clients are number 1, but I also want to make the experience for vendors seamless. It's my job. So thinking of it translating into a venue eventually one day is like the load in, load out process. The hair and makeup area, is there going to be a bridal suite right on site for them to get ready? All of those things, the list is a mile long, but I want to be able to check off all those boxes for everyone that would be involved in an event day. So it will be, like I said, tedious process, but we'll get there one day.
It'll be well worth it. I mean, weddings, especially now that weddings are becoming these like multi-day ordeals, to have a venue that is truly a full service experience, not only like load in, load out, makeup, bridal suite, but like on-site lodging, like that, or even like what is your nearby lodging? Does it make sense for your venue and for the type of clientele that your venue is going to attract? Like, is there lodging to suit their needs or their expectations, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. I love talking about this, and I love, like, even knowing people that want to, like, go after this stuff because, like, I
Yeah,
think owning a venue is a huge flex, so I can't wait
we'll
to see
see.
you make
Yeah.
it happen. Let's transition a little into, like, personal you. I think being an event planner is like, I have a lot of respect for event planners. I work with a lot of event planners. I know what you have to deal with, and I could only imagine how easy it might get to just get, like to probably to feel crazy all the time because there is so much that you have to keep track of and so many projects happening all at once for you, I'm sure. So how do you find your balance and what are some of the things that you like to do just for you?
Things I like to do just for me that honestly help me tremendously just like be chill in my job is the physical aspect of life. Just like I play co ed soccer 2 nights a week and I play co ed volleyball 1 night a week. Those alone fill my social aspect of life a little bit. Obviously, like I play with my friends and everything too. But also just like there's such stress relief. Yes, working out is like any sort of working out type is, but I have found that like any sort of sport just relieves my stress and it helps me be a better person for my clients. So when I am working during the day, I'm organized. I have a clear head, all of that, which you need to be a planner. But those beyond like working out and everything, I just am really working on like a work life balance in general and just being able to give myself time to decompress, give myself the true days off because being a planner, you can really fall into the hole of working every single day and almost like every hour of the day besides when you're sleeping because your clients become your friends. You get close with them to where they're texting you a lot, and which is fine. I'm one that texts me. I'm a texter. Sometimes it's easier for them, but you can fall into those holes. So really being able to set your boundaries personally and take care of yourself. It's so important to be able to take care of yourself. So then again, when you're sitting down to work for the day, you feel clear-headed, you're organized, you're calm.
Well, you're operating from like a full cup. I like to say one of my favorite things to ask people is when was the last time you did something that didn't make you richer or skinnier? Okay.
That's a
And I think like
that's a good
and like
question.
that's really what I mean when I'm like, what do you do for you?
Right.
Like what makes you feel and not something that's like counterproductive. Sports, sure, you're getting exercise, but you're playing for a different reason. Like working out is not that. Like working out, we do it with a goal in mind. But what do you do for you that is not goal oriented?
Honestly, traveling too is another one that is huge with my husband and I. Like he works a crazy schedule too, which is kind of funny that we both work like these crazy days. We work weekends. He works overnight shifts and everything, but then he gets 7 days off every month. me, obviously, I make my own schedule. So there's times that I can do that. We love to travel and like explore new places. So we will find 4 days in a month and go to Florida or go to another state. That to me is such a good way to decompress and refresh. And I'm huge on that because you have to be fresh to work in this industry. You can't, burnout is so real. So for me, taking myself out of state is honestly the best way for me to really just like recharge and refresh myself to be the best for my clients. So sometimes people are like, wow, that's crazy. You travel so much and you're an event planner. But I don't know. I just find that that is one of the best things for me and also for my husband as well. But
Just like getting out of the environment, and
yes,
it's also so much
removing.
easier, I think, to unplug when you're not in your environment.
Right. Like I'm not near my office. Like, yes, I can say give myself my days off and I do things for me there, but my office is in my home. It's right upstairs. I mean, I find myself often and trying to get better with this. Oh, I have an hour of free time, but it's my day off. I'm going to go check my emails. I'm bad with that and I'm working on it. So that's why for me, like removing myself totally is so important because I really is a true refresh. And my clients, obviously, they respect my time, but even more than they're like, oh, she's out of town. She can't really help me. She's not in her office or accessible to work. So I give her her space. So that's huge for me.
Have you ever experienced burnout?
That was back when I first became a planner, when I was working for that venue. Like I said, I became so I did everything. My number one issue is I don't know how to say no to things.
I'm sure a lot of event planners can probably.
Yes, because we get excited. We're excited
Well, you
people.
can do it all.
Right.
Like, you're capable, and sometimes you're probably the best one to do it
Yeah, I have a high
anyway.
capacity for things. So sometimes I take that and I run with it. That is when truly though, after for a few years of being in the industry and being the planner, I I crashed and burned. And that's why I left that originally because I wanted more. I wanted to expand. I wanted to see what else was out there, but I truly was just not in the best like mental space and I was starting to hate my job, but I knew I didn't hate it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was
That's how you
really
know.
yeah, I was like miserable going into work when I wasn't like that before. I used to love going to my job and then like there was a day that it just kind of all hit me and I was like, "Whoa, I I'm miserable and I'm burnt out. I'm here 70 hours a week. I have so many clients to keep track of. My brain just like couldn't take I didn't have like mental space anymore for anything. So that was like my cue. I was like, okay, it's time. I got to move on to something and restart. But that was, you have to acknowledge that and you have to do, because I was terrified to leave. I was like, this is where I built being an event planner. I didn't want to leave. I was comfortable.
Were you afraid that there wasn't going to be any work out there for you?
Yes. And then when I found my new job, even when I left, I was like, is this going to be what I want it to be? Which is again what led me into doing and starting RD events because it wasn't. It was, one of those you sat down for the interview. It was great. They want to do whatever you want. You're going to be great for us, blah, blah, blah. A couple months in, I was like, this is not event planning to me. It wasn't, obviously, yes, we were in a pandemic, but there were so many things that could have been put into place, but I was just doing it wasn't doing the work it was fulfilling me. So again, that's where RD events came from. I was like, I'm kind of done working for people. I'm going to work for myself. But you just have to be able to acknowledge that and you have to do the scared thing to just, if you're not happy somewhere, you will be happy somewhere else. And either go work for someone that's going to make you happier or be an entrepreneur, start your own business, find the thing that makes you happy.
When scouting a location, because I was just thinking about how you left, like, you're still an event planner, but being your own event planner means like you're not just working under one venue anymore, right? You're not just working with all the catering, and there's a lot of variables that are already decided upon when you're working for a venue, right? But what are the questions that they need or they should be asking?
True, like capacity limits is huge. I mean, just it is the basics, and it sounds to us planners, the basics are our basics, but to somebody that's looking to throw an event,
That's like
it
never
it's
thrown an event before.
right. You don't know the basics. You might know like, okay, what do you provide? And then they can tell you this long list of what they provide, tables, chairs, linens, whatever. But do they like what are their setup guidelines? When can you set up? When do you have to break down? Do they have a team that helps you set up? I mean, I run into venues often that sell a space, but my team is primarily the team to set it up from
Like they don't have any staff.
right. They don't
Yeah.
have staff there. Or they have staff, but their staff won't touch the client items. Or their staff is just in the kitchen serving food or just beverage service. It's really my number one thing would be is like ask all of the questions. They're not stupid questions. You're not an event planner, so you're not going to know all the things. Ask everything. Don't put a limit on like how many questions you ask a venue because you need to know those things. I mean, you do. And there are just so many guidelines. I mean, even just like downtown Syracuse, the venues down here, I always, luckily, I've worked at them so many times, but there's still things I even have to ask again because like load in and load out processes and parking. It's just so important to know every little part of the venue.
What do you think is the hardest part in planning and executing an event?
It's funny. I was just talking about this the other day. It's honestly a traditional, and I go to weddings a lot because obviously we do a lot of weddings. So when you talk to me about events, that's what I'm thinking. And wedding days for me start early in the morning, and then it's just go, 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 go. And it's coordinating because I am so hands on with the coordination of it while my team sets the room or whatever it is, to where my mind is racing and putting out fires and dealing with all the vendors when they're coming in and everything. When dinner hits, oh, I wish I could just go home and go to bed. I'm
You're
so
like ready for
tired. I'm
bed.
like, this is the not the worst part of the day. Every part of the day is so great, but like that to me, I'm like, boom, I sit down. It's the first time I'm probably having water and food for the day. That is the part where I'm just like, oh, I wish I had, the chance to be like, okay, see you later. I'm going from here, which I will get there one day. I'm training my staff more to be able to close the event. They're really great at it, but I need to let myself let that happen first, which I'm working on. But that would probably be honestly the only part of the event days that I would just like that feeling of, all right, now it's slow because I love the chaos. I love the constant boom, 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 boom of any event. I just wish I like it never slowed down, but obviously it has to, if that makes sense. But those are my moments where I'm just like, okay, the slowdown, which is crazy to even say.
I was gonna say also, like, I feel like if you are drawn to the events world, like, you most likely, like, love chaos, low key.
For real. Like you have to. And if you don't, then that's not the industry for you. I
No.
mean, every part of it is so, if you look at it, good chaos. It's like good chaotic behavior, even from the mornings. I mean, think of wedding mornings. Like you, I cannot do what you do for weddings, just throwing that out there, hair and makeup and everything. I just think it's such an art, and your mind is just going, 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 going. Like it's chaos. It is
I
pure chaos
I
in the
like
morning.
the past couple of years have been interesting because I feel like I've been actively trying to find a solution to the amount of not stress, but it's just like emotional exhaustion that happens. You physically take on people's energy, like especially when you're literally 6 inches from their face all day long and like you're literally absorbing their energy. I know an artist that actually puts an AirPod in her ear, like one AirPod in, and actually plays music and like tells the client like, we are on a time crunch. In order for me to focus, I'm going to listen to music and we can't talk.
It's actually genius.
And she just blames it on the time crunch. And I'm like, I for the past I found out about this 2 years ago, and ever since then, I have not been able to stop thinking about it because I'm like, "Should I do that?
Give it a
Should I do that?"
whirl.
I'm
Yeah.
like, maybe that's my solution because I've noticed that I'm so much better off at the end of the day when, like, I just don't talk much
Yeah.
and I just do my job. You have to play the part on a wedding day. Like, you can't hide from it. You have to accept it. You have to like your job is not only to make these women beautiful, make them feel beautiful, but it's like you're a girl's girl. Like you need to be hyping them up.
Yes,
You
you
need
are
to
their
be
number one hype.
like playing the music. Like, does anyone want music? Like you have
You
to
start the day.
post them. Yeah,
You do.
you're like setting the tone for the day.
Yes, for real. And it is exhausting, I'm sure.
But at least you get to leave by like 12,
Yeah.
12:01, and you're like out of there,
I'm
get
usually
some
waving to you
lunch.
guys. Bye.
And you're
Okay, I
like,
still have
bye
10 hours
guys.
to go.
And I never knew if I was like jealous of I used to kind of be like, man, the photographer, like I feel like the photographer has the good job here because like they get to roll in around like 10 a.m. and then but they have to be there until like 11 midnight.
And they are putting out I was actually just talking to, the photographer. I worked with her the last 2 weekends, and I said the same thing I just said to you. I couldn't do their job either because it is so much to remember because you have maybe 1 or 2 phone calls with the client. They tell you, "I want this photo," and especially nowadays with weddings, there's so much more trendy shots and just so much inspo. To where it used to be kinda traditional, like, take this photo, take these family photos, and kinda done. Now, they're there for, like, 10 hours, some of them, at least 8, and then they're just remembering so much. Yes, I'm remembering so much too, but they're actually putting out, like,
And
a
then their
full-on
job
product.
doesn't stop when they're
No.
done. They still have to go home and work for like 20 more
Hours,
hours on
yeah,
that content.
to edit and then send it off, and it's like at least, like, with my part of the job, yes, my entire product is the wedding, and I'm always so proud of it. It's so rewarding, but I'm working on that for months prior, and I'm so crazy about every little detail to make sure that it is like that. Photographers, they're kinda working with what just happens on the day. They don't know, like, there could be bad weather, there could be, you know, the client could be in a bad mood, who knows? There's so much emotion to it that they just have to work with what they got. Us planners, I like to try to take away a lot of that guesswork for them and help them just kind of flow through the day and, like, also be a piece of their mind. I do that for all the vendors on a day. It's really so
Well,
much.
you also offer like just day of coordination too, right?
I do not,
Oh,
actually. It's
no.
a
Did
good
you ever offer
question.
that?
No, and I never will.
Oh, okay. Why?
So
What's your philosophy behind that?
so for me, being in the industry for so long, day of coordination to me is just not it should not be a term. No one can show up on your wedding day, even if they prepped with you for a week before, and know every little detail about your wedding and
Mhm.
execute it perfectly.
Without actually planning it
If there's
themselves.
somebody out there that can do that, I wanna see you do it.
I always was curious about like how that happens.
It's to me, I just don't like, maybe, yes, there could be
Do you
people
think
out
it's
there
like
that
mainly useful for the getting ready part? Like maybe like making sure like the groomsmen are like in the right place and they're getting dressed and
yes.
they need to be getting dressed and like the
You're
bride doesn't
just
have to
like
be
a
on her phone the
behind
whole
the scenes
time.
person or something, yeah, like, that could work for that, but to be a day of planner, day of coordinator, and actually run an entire wedding day, to me, you need months of prep for that, and I know there are other planners, if you're listening to this, I'm sure they're nodding their head like, "Yep," because I've talked to so many of them, and they might offer day of coordination, but their day of coordination package might be a couple months of support. That works, but true day of coordinators, like, I will get inquiries that are like, "I just want you to show up on the wedding day and execute," and I'm like, "Great, here's my 6-month planning package," because it takes, to me, that long because I want to know every little detail. I wanna know about your family, I wanna know about your bridal party, I wanna know your vision. I want all the big picture and I want all the small, because that's how I am able to flawlessly execute, and I will toot my own horn. I very flawlessly execute many. Yes, there's mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. And, not every wedding day is perfect, but I can at least have a confident answer to put out fires because I know at that point, I know what the bride and the groom would want, or the brides and the grooms, whatever. I know what the couple would want me to say, so I don't even have to ask them. I can't learn somebody's personality in a week, to be honest, and then run their wedding day, one of the biggest days of their life. So that's why to me, day of coordination is a term. Let's just, I don't know, maybe tweak
Let's
or
just do
just get
away
rid
with
of it.
it.
Yeah. Just, we're all planners. Just hire a planner, whether you have
Yeah.
us for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, or the full planning package from start to finish. Whatever it is, just hire an event planner.
Let's go through like the differences in all your packages though and like what someone will get. And yeah, maybe we can talk a little bit about like what each one looks like how many times you guys meet and all that good stuff.
My packages are a little, they're again very hands on. I'm super detailed. I like to know everything. So, our full planning package is obviously the most. So, typically with those, you get engaged, you have no idea what you want. You hire me then. You're a full planning package client. Partial planning is my middle level. So that is typically like a year out is when I see, they might have their venue, maybe one or two vendors picked out. They have an idea of their vision, but they have no idea where to go from there. And that's my most popular package is partial. A lot of those people have very demanding jobs. A lot of mine are doctors, lawyers, just jobs that they're working 60, 70 hours a week to where they don't want to go home and plan their wedding. They just wanna kinda answer an email and be like, "Okay, cool." Both of those I meet with monthly as well. So, every month we'll sit down, we'll have a guided meeting, whether it's about timeline, hiring vendors, whatever. And then my lowest package, which people would call my day of coordination package, but it's 6 months of planning. So, we start 6 months out. Ideally, you have all of your vendors selected. Maybe there's 1 or 2 you still need to hire. We make your timeline, we detail your day, you get a mood board, we talk about what decor you may need to hire or rentals, whatever. And yeah, so we meet monthly for that as well. And then all of those include the day of coordination. So I'm there for your rehearsal, there for your entire wedding day. You have my team to help set up and break down. And then sometimes, even if there's like a Sunday brunch, we help just kind of like get that started for you. Sometimes, like, we'll transport flowers to the brunch or whatever it is. So you get more of like a weekend coordination, I should say.
I would imagine that if someone is planning a wedding and they might want to hire you for like your 6-month package. So you would recommend that they have all of their vendors figured out and then you don't even touch decor until all those vendors are figured out, right? Like what is that
Typically.
planning process look like?
So actually, for that too, sometimes at the 6 month out, they might not have a florist yet or, rentals or anything, or they might have it. They've hired such, but they don't have like the details worked out. And that's very typical for that package. That's a lot of the partial in the 6 month that they reach out because they're like, I have my core, I have photographer, venue, videographer, DJ or band, whatever figured out. But now I have to design my wedding and here's my vision. I have no idea how to execute it. So that's actually all of my packages. But that process is I look at your Pinterest board, I pull photos from it, make a very extensive mood board. So it's not just a board of photos, it's actually sectioned off and it's how we do it. So we talk about your ceremony flowers or decor rentals. Next page is how we do that. Who do we need to hire? What is the structure of your ceremony? Then personal flowers, your bouquets, your boutonnieres, all of that. Then from there we talk about your reception, your tablescapes, your specialty rentals, refined rentals would come into that play or a different company. And then that's the full design. Then we go through it. If you did not hire a florist yet, that's when I send in recommendations of this florist could perfectly execute this vision, or if they already had a florist hired, we would share the mood board with that florist and hop on a meeting with them and just go through it from top to bottom.
Give us your top 3 favorite flowers right now.
My top 3 poppies, ranunculuses. Well, I should say butterfly ranunculus. They're a little bit different. And cosmos.
Ooh, what are cosmos? I don't think I've
They're white. They have a little like button. They're so beautiful. They're not just white. They're actually millions of different colors. I'm thinking every time I think of cosmos, I think of the white little ones because I wanted my wedding bouquet.
Oh, wait, with the little yellow, I love those too. Those are gorgeous.
They're so beautiful, and they do come in so many colors, and they're just very dainty. The stem's really dainty. They have a nice flow. They're beautiful.
Oh, how do you feel about the like white and cream colored bridesmaids dresses?
I right now am very 50-50 on it because I do love it. I think they're really pretty, and, like, I've seen photos of it done very well, but then I do just kinda go back. I'm not super traditional, like, with the wedding, like, traditions and everything. Do what you want, obviously, like, that's how I look at all my clients. They don't need to do all these traditions, but that's one tradition that I'm like, "Keep the bride in white and the girls in color, whatever color." But I don't know, but I've seen it done really well, so I'm so 50-50. What do you think?
I think it should be illegal.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna be like, "I love it."
I love it when everyone's in all black though. I think that looks the
Oh, me
best
too. I
in photos.
love a classy all black, but I love color too, so that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's all dependent on the venue, I think. The venue is what determines even the bride's dress.
It's one of those things. I don't think it'll stay trendy for long.
I think people are starting to do like really interesting aisles too.
Yes, and I'm a huge fan of that because ceremonies to me have gotten very, what's the word? I don't want to say traditional because that's not the proper way. Kind of repetitive. Like you do the same ceremony spot. You have an arbor, you do some extra decor on the aisle, you get the white folding chairs. Me, I'm like, make that more impact. It sets the tone for, like, that's the first thing your guests are seeing. So, like, do something impactful for your ceremony and get a little crazy with it, or do it in like a cool location.
I think the location is
The drone
huge.
shots also are so cool to me.
I love them, especially if a bride has a train.
Agreed. Just like having that shot of just like, I don't know, that is so awesome to me. I've seen a lot more of those, and that's a trend I want photographers and videographers to do a little more of.
What can people add to their ceremony to make it more like memorable or impactful?
That's a loaded question because there's so many, like, it depends on your spot, really.
I feel like live music.
Yes, I agreed because that's more like of a personal rather than just a push play, which that's not a problem, obviously. Love that as well, but live musicians are definitely just the impactful of listening, like the strings, like string quartets and everything. I love that.
What are some of the really unique, like personalized things that people you've seen people do? Because now I'm starting to see a lot more personalized pieces and also just like actual, switching it up with like the structure of the ceremony. But for example, like a lot of people are embroidering right now.
This wouldn't be necessarily like the ceremony. This is more of like wedding in general, but I've been seeing more like personalized guest book things, like different guest book methods. I've always been huge on that, but the one that just popped in my mind is the bride that she just told me about. This is what they were doing. They're doing bucket list items. So what they're doing is pretty much letting people write what they should add to their bucket list and putting it in a thing, and then they can read it and add it to their bucket list. So I just think little things like that are so make it more personal. I love just seeing like the different methods, like the audio guest books
I was
too.
just gonna bring that up. I just
Yes,
discovered that.
love that. We did it at mine, and the
Did you get the rotary phone thing?
yes.
Oh my god, I love that.
Yeah, loved it. It was so cute, like, made it nice and pretty, like, on our lounge out in the, atrium area of our venue.
I feel like people have so much to say, to stand there and write it. I feel like and then, with an audio file, you can really hear their personality come through and
Treasure those. They're so sweet, and, I mean, I just yes, like you said, like, no one's gonna sit there and think of everything they want to write in a guest book, but being able to say it and hear the voice, and even one that sticks out to me from our wedding because we did that, was during cocktail hour. You can just, like, hear the commotion in the background and, like, hear the message, but just hear all the sounds of the day and everything, and then the ones later in the night, obviously, they get a little bit more funny, but you could just hear everything also in the background. Like, just you can tell, like, it's just, like, in the day. I don't know how to describe it better than that.
you can just hear the commotion and, like, just, like, the energy.
Yeah, it's the chaos.
Rachel, Is there anything exciting that you want to highlight or touch on? Maybe an exciting event that you're doing? I know you're doing a charity event, but before we close out the episode, anything you want to share?
So I would just say I'm really working on just launching Refine Rentals a little bit more. So you'll see more of that, more of our product and our inventory. I'll get more posts out on Instagram about what we're providing and more events with those. So we'll see a lot more of that. But yes, I mean, some charity events actually I'm doing and just working with you more too. We have some events in store together, which I can't wait for because those are really just ones that you have such a good design eye, and you and I think work beautifully together. So we'll see some of those. But really, this year was more focusing on personal goals and getting myself more of a work life balance, like I keep saying. But yeah, just kind of fine tuning everything. And I have a lot of ideas. We'll see if those make it. I don't want to say any now in case they fall through.
Well, we'll be sure to link all the things for Refine Rentals and RD events in the show notes. And yes, I'm so excited. We have formed a partnership, and Rachael is going to be, well, Refine Rentals is going to be partnering with the collective for lots of different kinds of bespoke brand events and networking events for our members. So, really excited for that because we're the same. Everything has to look just as good as it feels. So,
I love when you just send me like little
inspo. I mean, yeah.
either Instagram or Pinterest, and I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. Let's do this.
I'm really excited, looking forward to this partnership. And thank you for joining me today on the Cultivate podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Cultivate CNY. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you left us a review and make sure you're subscribed to the show. Speaking of the show, if you know anyone or if you are interested in being our next guest on Cultivate CNY, be sure to submit us an application. You can just click the link in the show notes. And if you're a business owner that's interested in getting in front of our audience, you can go ahead and email us at podcast@cnywomensnetwork.com to learn more about sponsorship and advertising opportunities. All right, that's it for now. I'll catch you guys next Monday.